Today is World Diabetes Day. Research shows that diabetes kills more people than TB, HIV and malaria combined. Now, the research also shows that 3 in 5 people with diabetes in South Africa are undiagnosed. We take a closer look at the disease labeled as the world's silent killer. To unpack the story, I'm joined now by Montsheng Botlhoko, who has type 2 diabetes and is also an expert on the subject. Montsheng, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Paul.
3 in 5 people with diabetes in South Africa are undiagnosed. Why is that?
Paul, what I will say is most people, you find that nobody in the family has a history of diabetes. And with that said, they wouldn't know the signs, what to look out for and what not. So you find that some do not get screening on time, and some just cannot pick up on those signs of diabetes as early as possible. And honestly, some are just ignorant when it comes to that, because you find that in a family history we do actually have somebody with diabetes, or who has passed on due to diabetes complications. So you find it's such situations most of the time.
So it's been labeled at the top there with high blood pressure as a silent killer, diabetes. You speak about family history of the signs, people not being aware of the signs and symptoms. What are these symptoms that need to be looked into?
The symptoms will be severe tiredness, blurry eyes, when you have a sore on your foot that does not heal properly, and very extremely dry mouth and constant urinating, and those are the major signs that people should look out for.
Types of diabetes, and what differentiates yours from the others?
We have type 1, which most of the people with type 1 do not produce enough insulin or do not produce insulin at all. And with type 2 diabetes, our body does not make good use of the insulin that it produces. Hence, with type 2, you take oral medication, and whereas with type 1, you take insulin. And we also have GDM, which is gestational diabetes due to pregnancy. It happens a lot in most cases, people did not have diabetes at all, and when they get pregnant, they get gestational diabetes.
And does it go away afterwards?
Yes, it does go away, but there are chances that it might come back or it might affect the child.
You speak about insulin. You're even wearing a top that says powered by insulin. What exactly is insulin?
Insulin, so far it saves my life. My sugar was not well controlled with just oral medication, so my doctor changed me from oral medication to insulin. So it's better managed now, and it saves lives, way better than oral medication.
And you spoke about diabetes perhaps being hereditary, that perhaps there may have been past family members who lived or perhaps died from diabetes. But what are the other risk factors that need to be considered when one evaluates the symptoms of diabetes?
I would say with type 2 diabetes, it's the lifestyle. We must watch what we eat, what we drink, what we put on our body actually. Us eating unhealthy food take out a factor in it as well, that you're not taking care of your body, not exercising, you drink alcohol, everything is all merry, but in the long run it affects your system, how your body produces insulin and how it works, whether it's going to work on your if your body is going to react nicely to insulin and produce enough insulin for you to survive. So some cases you find us going to buy slab chips, burgers, and it also affects in a later stage.
Now, In terms of some of the other preventative measures, I mean, you mentioned a healthy diet and ensuring that you have regular exercise. What other ways are there for somebody to see if they have diabetes?
The best advice I could give is to have it checked out every 6 months, if possible. Go for a screening at a local clinic or Clicks that we have. Clicks Pharmacy now, we have checkers. Every outlet now seems to be having a clinic inside. Just have it checked, have a screening to avoid such. They will be able to tell if you go in the morning before meals or if you go during the day after meals. They'll be able to tell you that this is how much it should be after meals and this is how much it should be before meals. And if it's the reading is not satisfactory, then they will take you for a blood test.
You speak about meals, and we know being a diabetic means there's a lot of focus on the type of food that you eat once you find out that you're a diabetic, or perhaps even as a preventative measure. What sort of diets does this entail?
It's a very bland diet. Most of the time, in most of my meals, there's less salt. There's less oil. I do not cook with oil at all. And I don't do takeouts. And when I mean takeouts, the only actually healthy meal I can eat is a Nando's chicken because it's grilled. I grill my chicken. I eat chicken salad. I will do your green salad on a regular meal. And the best, I do less of carbs. I count my carbs. I do not just binge on my carbs. So it's that sort of a diet. You do not want to put too much salt. You don't want to have too much sugar in your cold drink or any of those things. Okay. And it's always healthier to drink water than to drink juice or a no sugar cold drink.
Is there a particular age group that's at risk here?
Yes, with type 2, normally, on a normal base, you find it starts from 45 going upwards. We do have special cases, though, where I got diagnosed when I was 27, and there are also other people who were diagnosed earlier. And with type 1, basically anybody is at risk because even a toddler can be diagnosed with type 1 diabetes.
And what are the dangers? What are the dangers of diabetes? I mean, besides death, you know, you hear of factors where people have had to have amputations, you know. So what are the most essential things that people need to look out for to prevent yourself from heading in that direction?
Well, the dangers that normally when we go with follow-ups with our doctors, you find they also have to check your feet if there's any sensory on our feet, because the minute we lose sense of touch from our feet, then that's a danger. We always have to check our eyes if are not affected behind, not the lens of the eyes, but behind. And one of the dangers is getting good, comfortable shoes. I've had to do away with my heels because I could get an injury anytime. When I have a sore on my foot, I always have to constantly check with my doctor if it's healing or not. So those are the major dangers, because I think most importantly, what we're trying to make people aware is to avoid going blind and having to be amputated. Those are the major things that we should look out for.
Now, before we let you go, for people who may be watching at home and feeling like some of the symptoms that you've spoken of or resemble their lives, what are the first steps that need to be taken?
The first step is to get screening as early as it's deadly, but you can manage to live with it. There are a whole lot of people who actually lived with it for so long. My dad had it for over 20 years before he could give up in life. But honestly, there is healing. You know, not in the process of healing completely, but in managing diabetes. It is deadly, but there are things we can avoid.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
That was Montsheng Botlhoko, who is telling us about the type 2 diabetes that she lives with. And of course, as today marks National World Diabetes Day, speaking about the hope that there is at the end of the tunnel, that there is diabetes can be managed and there is healing. And of course, speaking about the symptoms and urging those who may be experiencing some of the symptoms to get a screening.